Guys, thank you for being here. Again, so getting right to work on Clemson. As we do so, always reviewing the film, and certainly there's some good effort on the field and there's some good plays, but the obvious is the self-inflicted wounds that hurt us pretty good. But the approach has been very honest and very basic, is making sure that there's zero self-pity, zero blaming, zero negativity, just work, right? Working on the things and finding ways to get better. That's the only way, that's the only direction that we go as it relates to our team and trying to attain progress. So Clemson, obviously an excellent football team, stacked with talent, very well coached, championship caliber program for a while now, and looking forward to this opportunity coming up on Saturday. So that being said, questions.
How do you keep the team moving together? Football, obviously, I was looking back a little bit, just to correct. You look at the film, you're very fair, very critical of yourselves, and all that. You look back and correct, but how do you keep looking forward to it, not ensuring that 2 losses in a row don't become something that you swallow up?
Sure, you do it with leadership at all levels. You do it at the coaching level, you do it with the best leaders on your team, you do it with honesty, you do it with transparency. I think if you ever deviate from that is when you create issues. I think what's very clear to us is, yeah, we've made a lot of progress as a team. You know, offensively and defensively, the improvement statistically is staggering. It's really, really good. But we've made some really good plays in some critical moments, and we've hurt ourselves in some critical moments. And that's, when I say I mean at all levels, you know, because we take everything as players and as coaches. And that is very tangible. You know, that's something that you could see on film. That's something that you feel, obviously, when the things are good and when you feel the consequences. So I think whenever it's real, then moving forward is something that is, you know, it's never easy, but the challenge and the approach to it is very real.
How do you attack improving ball security at this stage of the season?
Yeah, you know, it's a question that you feel like you face that question every single year. And you almost feel like you always hear a generic answer, right? You attack that every way you possibly can. You got to see it on film first. How's it showing up? Second part, how do you simulate it in practice, right? How do you get game speed going in practice? Well, you got to practice really hard. How do you get, whether it be the scout team, whether it be the defense, stripping at the ball, knocking it out, given the type of looks that you're going to feel on game day, and then making it a legitimate competition where you got to hang on to the ball to be able to show and display that you can do that in critical situations. And you got to work it to death, and then you got to make sure that on game day that it shows up. So it's an area that I guess when I say that it's an area of emphasis, it might be the understatement of the year. We've gotten the results early in the year that we wanted. We haven't in the last few, and all focus is on working on it and getting it better.
Your view on when things went sideways in the third quarter, was it primarily because of the turnovers, or what else was the breakdown in your mind?
Well, I think it was part of it, right? I mean, they went down the field and scored. You know, we had a bust, you know, down in our area from a cover standpoint. We compounded the problem with turning the ball right back to them and giving them an opportunity to score again when we were moving the ball very effectively. You know, the last 3 times we touched the ball, 3 of the 4 times we moved it well and scored, including the field goal before the half. And when we got the ball, we were moving well. You know, we had an error, and it gave them the momentum back, and we found ourselves playing catch-up the entire time. That being said, when you watch film, the effort is good. It's good the whole way, you know, and to a point where at the end you have the ball, you're down by 10, but, you know, you fought yourself to a position where if you make a couple of plays, you could be down by 7, you could be down by 3, you give yourself a chance. Either way, it was never turned down. You know, the game was not all right where guys kept working, that's what we look for on film. It's what you look for all the time, especially in a game where you're not doing well. Because if you sense or if you see that, you know, you're not coaching to a high level or trying to find a way to win, if you're not playing as hard as you can to find a way to win, then that's a problem. That's where you got to make a change.
After watching the tape, what stood out about the run defense and that performance? Didn't go the way you guys would have liked it, I'm sure.
Well, I think the tempo got us. You know, got to be honest with that, and you saw that on tape. I think they run the ball really hard. They run it well. They blocked us well. They ran through some of our tackles well. You know, we did not play the caliber of defensive, especially rush defense that we've been capable of showing that we have done. And I'm going to give more credit to them than, I don't want to say anything negative about us. I just don't, throw our guys under the bus. We got to coach it better. We got to do things to help ourselves out schematically when a team gets rolling like that. And certainly things that we have looked at, studied, and going to make improvements.
Was it alignment issues? Was it conditioning issues? A mix of both?
I think alignment-wise, we're in pretty good shape for the majority of it. You're going to get hit with some things sometimes. You want to eliminate those completely, so that's number one. Number two, conditioning does play a factor, so that's where tempo can hurt you, obviously.
Mario, how would you evaluate the offensive line? I saw that I think Tyler got pressured more than twice as much as any other game on Saturday.
Well, I think when you got to throw the ball that much, you're in like pure drop back mode. That's hard. That's hard at any level, the NFL, college football. So I don't have the totals in front of me of how many times they're worked, but these are obvious drop back situations where the guys can pin their ears back, and so you're going to have some of that, And so it's look, if we have to throw it 50 times because we're nuts, we got to do it. And I think everybody on the team and everyone on the staff understands that. You're not going to all of a sudden not do that because you want to protect yourself statistically. That's not it. The only chance we had of winning the game was throwing the ball like we did. We had some breakdowns, but we also did a really good job blocking some of their stunts, their pressures. They're good players that they have a high sack total, and for the most part, we did some really good things.
And then this question might kind of flow out of that one, but where do you want to improve in the run game? Obviously, a tough game Saturday, and Clemson's got a top 10 rush defense.
Mm-hmm. Well, it starts with that, right? The line of scrimmage, first and foremost, finding numbers, angles, leverages that go with that. It's a little bit of everything, right? From the tight ends to the offensive line to what we designed to the running backs, is making sure that we get on track and establishing, not only the run game, but just getting in rhythm offensively. You also have to make sure you're calling plays that give your players a chance. If the box is stacked beyond what the numbers that you can block and the leverages are not there, you may have to throw it around a little bit. So, but we certainly want to produce at a higher level in the run game.
Mario, you just mentioned conditioning 6 games into a season. How do you correct that? How do you improve on that area?
More players playing, more players capable of playing at a higher level, so you can rotate more guys in. We stated early in the season that playing time was going to be earned. It just wasn't going to be a birthright where you go in just because you're the next guy. Well, you got to be able to earn that. If not, we got to move pieces around and put people in there that have earned the right to play. So that's first and foremost. We got to develop more guys. We're not going to use injuries or youth as any kind of excuse. If you're wearing a U on your helmet and on your jersey, we got to get you ready, and that's what the focus is on.
Tyler revealed after the game that he was playing through some stuff in his game this morning. He said he's fine, of course, but I'm sure you've heard it now. But I know you're talking about injuries, but since he brought it up, what's the level of concern with
For him playing, zero. Was he banged up in the game? Yeah, he got banged up. But is he tough? Absolutely. He's really tough, and he wants to win. He's ready to roll.
You kind of alluded to it earlier. You're down 10, and there's not time for 2 scores yet. There's still a buy-in, there's still effort being made on that last drive. You haven't had. It doesn't seem like you've had kids start pouting, start. It seems like there's still a lot of effort, a lot of care. Matthew's reaction, Ruben's reaction, the other night. It sounds like a more victory question than it's not, but just how important is that part that you have kids that you can see the level of buy-in that they have? And yeah, they're not getting the result they want, but you see buy-in.
Yeah, well, that's a big part of the progress, probably the biggest part, right? The guys that, when the care factor is high and they've seen that they have made progress in so many areas, and it hurts that much, when things aren't going our way, yeah, that's critically important. You can't have anything without that. And honestly, you can't bring people into the organization that aren't like that. And there was something we had mentioned before. If people are easily broken or fold when things get tough, it's the wrong business to be in. And certainly, as you're, progressing as a program, it's the one thing you really got to stay away from. You got to stay away from weak-mindedness. You got to be resilient, and most importantly, you got to always stick together. I think that unfortunately, you know, these young men are subjected to a lot of noise all over the place, but I can't recall ever as a high school player, as a college player, ever that being a part of any kind of progress, you know. There's a lot of technical stuff going on here today, obviously, right? So it's like, it's never part of the equation. We don't ever let it, it's never part of like our teaching or progression. So it should never infiltrate, you know, our way of doing things.
Say that about.
Give us a sec, David, just wait for that. It's on the side. I'm sorry. Apologies.
I want to ask you about Clemson's running backs, Shipley and Maffa. What stands out about them?
Fast, powerful, right? Guys are bullies, right? They do a great job. They do a great job up front. So do their tight ends. Schematically, they present a lot of eyewash, a lot of challenges, but they're physical football team. Those are a lot of stacked classes of high caliber talent, you know, coming together, and they do a really, really good job. You know, they're a couple plays away from being 6-0, you know, so they present a lot of challenges, and again, we're looking forward to being at our best on Saturday.
Mark, go ahead.
I saw Tyler Van Dyke coming in here with his right leg completely wrapped in an ace bandage and limping heavily while his right leg was completely stiff. So he's obviously injured. What's his status or what's the situation?
Well, Susan, I keep telling you I don't talk about injuries. I just told one of our guys that he's ready to go. So you have to write what you have to write. And next question, please.
Speaking of the running game, mentioned the running game earlier. How much has Mark Fletcher's absence kind of affected how you guys are running the ball? Do you have a timetable when he's coming back from his leg or foot issue?
Yeah, he's about a couple weeks away. I would say minimum. We were hopeful this week. I think you'll see him practicing this week. Doubtful for this week. Feel really good about the following week. Is he critical? Yeah, he's critical to our operation. That's a big physical guy that's fast and gets downhill. Was making a lot of headway, and really he helped change our run game a bunch while he was in there. And he's missed for a lot of reasons. You know, competition-wise, number one, right? That always keeps the room on edge and on its toes. And he's a really good football player. So, but again, you know, with the guys that we have, we're ready to ride with them. I think they've done a lot of good things, and we stick with our people. I think the most important thing a coach can do when he gets in front of a microphone is to make sure that there's no chinks in the operation and, you know, finger pointing and all that other stuff. You know, we got to get better. We've shown that we can do some really good things, and all the focus of the things we do have to be on that. So while guys get hurt and guys are missing time, it's important that we lead with the mindset of we cannot make that an excuse. And when they come back, they're welcome. Can't wait to see them back, and that we go from there.
Jakari Brown and Emery, where are they in their development process?
Doing well. Good football players. They got great futures here. They have to play right now. We feel confident in both.
There was a stat from around this weekend. I didn't even know myself, so I can't say how accurate it is, but you were one of only 11 Power 5s entering the league that hadn't been changed in your starting line in the offensive line. How important is that when you're trying to get somewhere that you wish you know those 5?
Yeah, that's been a drastic area of improvement and the right kind of change, because those guys, I mean, they know each other's next sentence. You know, they work really well together. We put a lot on them. You know, in the second part of this game last week, we had to put a lot more on them than you want to put on any offensive line, but they handle it well. They're tough. You could coach them hard. There's no sensitivity there whatsoever. You can get after them, and they're flourishing. You know, in the system, those guys all have great present, and they have a great future, you know, in college and beyond in the NFL. So,
All right, there hasn't been a lot of production from the tight end position as a whole. Your thoughts on that? And then how's Elijah? I guess he got in there.
We've called their number a couple times, and they weren't targeted due to a pressure or a coverage, or the ball was dictated to go somewhere else. But they are a big part of our offense. It hasn't shown yet. We feel confident it'll show in the coming weeks. Elijah is good to go. You know, he played a little bit. He is set to play more. He's 100% healthy and excited and fired up, and so you'll be seeing a lot more Elijah Arroyo, and he looks as good as what he looked like before his injury.
What does that do to the offense if the tight end production is up? Just what can that help, or how can it help an offense?
Well, it just makes you that much more difficult to stop. You know, there's another area of the field, another position group that you have to be aware of. Certainly, it puts a little more stress on the defense as well. Can create some matchup opportunities for us and some issues for the opponent. So, in the run game, those guys have been extremely effective. You know, both them and then Elijah in his role as well. So, we feel very confident about that group now and going forward. We do, but we got back so late on Saturday. We had to give some of that time for those guys to catch up on rest and catch up on schoolwork, and so it ends up being the same amount of time. You know, so there's not really much of a difference for them. Gives us extra time for them to be over here and watch more film, some more nutritional opportunities and whatnot. But the rest of the schedule is, once you start the season, the Sunday through Saturday is as is.
Mark, I asked Corey about this after the game on Saturday, but it seems like sometimes some of the DBs maybe are trying to go for a turnover, like, you know, make a big play, and they miss, you know, coverage a little bit. How do you strike a balance between, obviously, you want turnovers and big plays, but you also want to be playing sound coverage?
Yeah, you talk about the one we try to time up and bat away, or, well, I mean, it is a fine line, right, between having a guy be a ball player. They've been playing football since they've been this big, right? And they can make you right sometimes when you're wrong, when the wrong call, and they could turn a routine play into a great play. We have to focus on being really good at our routine plays. Does that make sense? Because our issues and our follow-ups on routine plays have hurt us. I don't know if that makes sense, but if you look at the ones that end up really hurting us, those are routine, okay? And those are lapses that we have to fix. We have to coach better. We have to teach better. We have to create teaching progressions that correct that. That's what we do. And again, there's no shying away from that. There's no excuses. There's no finger point. There's no blame. There's no get down. That's not the way it's ever going to work here. It's not. You know, it's a very honest and transparent and right at you approach, because that's the best form of respect. Does that make sense? You know, so again, getting really, really good and airtight on everyone just doing their job, all of us. That's the focal. Okay? All right, guys. Thank you.